So in India, now typically, what usually happens? We are covered by our Indian laws, and I will therefore first start with the Indian Contract Act. Now, typically in a contract, what do you see, and why do you need a contract? You require a contract for two reasons: that whether you're an artist, actor, a lyricist, director, whoever, they sort of it is necessary that both the contracting parties should be eligible or legally permitted to contract, and except that the only exception being in today's under the Contract Act, if you're a parda nashin lady, except that you are clearly, if you're above the age of 18 or 21, upon what type of contract it is, you are permitted to contract legally. Now, what does a contract typically have? First part of the contract is, of course, the names of the parties, their addresses, etc. Then there is a what is called the recital clause, which usually starts with the word whereas. Okay, and that actually explains why the parties have come together for a contract. So that is usually described, and then you have the several terms of contract. Now, in the terms of the contract, what are the important clauses that you usually look at? You look at, of course, the payment terms, the terms of actually executing the contract. For example, if you're an actor, then what are the hours of work? What are the rest periods? Your hotel, transportation, etc. Is that taken care of? And then come to the very interesting, of course, you also have, importantly, the jurisdiction clauses, and as to in case of a dispute where you go to, etc. I'll just come to that in a minute. Before that, the important clauses usually are the intellectual property rights clauses. Now, in intellectual property rights, what do I mean? As far as media and entertainment law is concerned, usually you're concerned mainly with the Copyrights Act and sometimes with the Trademark Act. You're not patents and geographical indications, etc., are not applicable. So in that, for example, if you are an actor, okay, what are the rights that usually go into it? For example, if you're you have written a piece, you're the writer of a film. Okay, how does it start? You will first start by writing a short synopsis, and then move further, then create a Bible, etc., etc. So the important thing that you need to remember, especially as an actor or as an artist or as a writer, is that you are under the Copyrights Act as it stands today in India. If you have written something, initially you become what is known as the first owner or the author of the copyright. All right. Now, how is that proven? It's very interesting. In the days gone by, what people used to do is they used to write it and post it to themselves as proof, saying that I've written something and I would, it belongs to me. Very interesting. Today, the scenario is very different. Today, everything is available. There is a copyrights, portal. You can actually, make out your script. You can go ahead and register it, and that then the copyright. Then, of course, you initially get a diary number, and then in case there are objections and those objections are overruled, you get a final copyright number. Okay, so the copyright then belongs to you. As you move along, what happens, for example, in a film? In a film, at the end of it, I may be jumping a little here and there, so please excuse me. The producer of the film, okay, in India is the final owner of all the copyrights, okay, or the IPR, as they say, because something that you must remember: copyright is not one single right; it is several or a bundle of rights which are all put together, and the producer of the film is the final owner. Now, how does he become the final owner? He usually gets all the assigned to him over a period of time. So he actually, in a strange sense, buys out everybody over a period of time, and then the copyright of the film actually belongs to him. So that is why, for example, a lot of cases that are filed, see right at the end, where people turn around and say that no, this the copyright actually belongs to X, Y, and Z. The courts today are very, very clear that the producer ultimately, unless you can show that there has been violation of certain type, the again I'm saying this is the law as it stands, and please remember laws change over a period of time. Okay, so initially under our Copyrights Act we never had things like personality rights. We never had several other types of rights, which were then we basically changed from the American to the French system, where even moral rights now. Moral doesn't mean that one line at the end of Aesop's fables. That is not moral. So all these rights are actually handed over. And how are they done? They are done in India through a proper contract. Okay. Now this contract also has a few essentials. The person should be competent to contract. It should not be illegal or void ab initio, as they say. It should not be for some illegal activity, and there should be consideration. So that consideration also can, earlier they would say that you hand over the copyright to me for ₹1. Now the courts and the laws have changed that, listen, that is not possible. The first owner also retains his right over a period of time, and therefore, so these are, how do I say, the courts have made all these things which are supposed to be quite simple a little complicated over a period of time, and therefore, a lot of people in the entertainment industry tend to think that, oh, हमें तो सब ये सब आता है, इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है, contracts and all that is the last thing. It in fact is not. It is a very, very important aspect. Please, consult your lawyers, consult other people who are aware of it. And so of course now production houses have started having their own internal legal teams, etc. So that's another thing. Another very important clause is the jurisdiction clause. Okay, now what is important in that? It says that, of course, if both the parties are within the jurisdiction of that particular state, then that district court or high court has the jurisdiction. Now, it's very interesting to note that with regard to jurisdiction of courts under the Copyright Act, these issues can only be resolved either by a district court or the high court as far as a copyright dispute is concerned. Everything else can be resolved, can be mediated upon, and it can be done even through a process called arbitration or mediation. What is arbitration? Arbitration is where the parties can decide prior in time that in case of it's basically an alternative dispute mechanism. You can sit together at any given point of time. You can choose your arbitrator. You can even sit at midnight, decide. It's a very simple, format. Usually the arbitrator can be somebody, it doesn't necessarily always have to be a lawyer or a retired judge. Can be somebody, for example, who's, who knows this industry very well, an expert, and who can actually listen to both the parties and give an award. Now that award usually cannot be challenged unless, except for a few very, very, important areas where there is, total irregularity, or there is lack of public policy, or situations like that. And so it is very important that you have the option of first mediating with because most disputes, and this has been my experience, can be resolved if you have a good mediator. If that mediation fails, then you can go to arbitration, and thereafter, if you have to go to court, and please remember, go to court only on a copyright matter, otherwise, or something else. Otherwise, every time you go to court, of course, the cost, the charges, and the time frame is something that you have to keep in mind with. So this is as far as these things. Yes, you must also remember a very important aspect today, and I'm saying this because very few lawyers are going to tell you this. Under our Indian law, okay, if the parties have agreed in a contract to say that, we agree to the jurisdiction of, say, New Delhi, or one of the parties is from abroad and he says the jurisdiction should be the courts in New York. If you all have agreed to, say, New York being the court of jurisdiction, the Indian Supreme Court has now said that it is possible that, because under our Civil Procedure Code, it is possible that, because how do you decide the jurisdiction? Under the Civil Procedure Code, it says where the plaintiff ordinarily resides or has his place of business. And similarly for the defendant. So it is possible that you can stay in India and sue somebody internationally also. So it's not absolutely necessary now. I'm talking about these are recent Supreme Court decisions where even India has been, otherwise you'll say, hey, if I go and spend money in California, mera pura, all my money will go in pursuing the claim. So these are interesting changes which have happened, and I think this is something that you all should, remember. The various, types of contracts. There are, of course, I think almost close to 35 or 40 contracts that you enter into while, making a film. I mean, from, producers agreements, distribution, music, location, your rental, co-production. Now, what is co-production? That's again a very interesting word. Now, co-producing typically happens when, two sort of producers get together and, collaborate. And internationally, it has now, when countries have signed international co-production treaties, why has that been necessary? In fact, it's very interesting that, UNESCO has actually said that, for cultural exchange, including film and co-production, there is a requirement for countries to enter into co-production treaties. In these treaties, you have very detailed, clauses which actually, for example, give you benefits in the country in which not only, for example, say, India and UK, that is the most popular, treaty today, where a lot of films have taken a lot of advantage. So where UK gives a lot of benefits to Indian films if they are shot over there. So, and there is a difference between a joint venture, a audiovisual co-production. All these things are, slightly, different. India, I must say, in fact, I think in 22, the person in charge of NFDC, he had actually got in touch with me. He shared all the, the incentives that India was planning to give to the various, producers and others. We went through it. We made a lot of suggestions, and I think at the Cannes Film Festival, finally the minister has brought it out. These incentives are available today now, not only in India, but even outside. And there are, I mean, different incentives both for center and state. So, and the other interesting part about these international co-productions are that you can, in your own country, you own the copyright, and it can, for example, in India, it will be an Indian film, and in Britain, it will be construed as a domestic British film. So all these things have sort of, come about. Of course, finance also plays a very, very important role in these. So a lot of contractual obligations from the financial side as well. There are issues about, the dollar versus the rupee, etc. But these are things which, over a period of time are being sort of, sorted out. Another area which I am going to touch upon today, and for which, we did fight, was for safety. You see, safety of actors, artists, especially on stage, okay, suddenly has become a very, very important aspect. I don't know if any one of you all have, there was a particular thing made by this gentleman called Mr. Opendra Chanana on the state of, the conditions under which our, film industry works. And we had actually taken it to the court and shown them that, listen, the safety of the person, irrespective on how he shoots, where he shoots, etc., in India, has to be done. Why am I saying this? You go internationally, it is absolutely compulsory before you even knock one nail into a ground. They will ask you, do you have comprehensive insurance? Why is insurance so important? Okay, because it takes care of the risks, not only for weather, etc., but any other risk that is likely to happen. We have now very good international reassurance broking companies which tailor make policies that actually shoot which take care of these situations. And this is sort of not only within India, but these insurance policies are available sort of even outside, and you can get a complete global coverage, and it's really absolutely amazing. I'll give you a great example of two examples actually. One is when we had the Times of India Film Awards. uh, you know, they were asking for a global policy. And I asked this Indian reassurance broking company to actually bid for it. They did. The policy was, I think, for about 50 million Canadian dollars, and it covered almost anything and everything that you can think of. I mean, we had, of course, people like Priyanka Chopra and all of them as artists, flying down there. I think about almost 2,500 artists went from here to there. The other interesting one was when we had the Indian independent filmmakers worldwide. They were doing a series called Masterclass, and they won. And these were, the days before Star, etc., had come into India, and Fox History had said that we will, allow. We don't mind. This is a great idea. So, why don't you sort of, go ahead and. But we can do that on one condition, that there should be insurance to the satisfaction of Fox USA. Now, when they tried to go and find out, uh, no insurance company in India was willing. So again, at that time, of course, I was much younger, and we managed to speak to a global reassurance broking company, and for a very small amount, we had got this entire series covered, and in fact, it came up for renewal, and that also continued. Another interesting thing at that point of time was the question of who owned the copyright for a series like this. And we decided that, in fact, uh, you know uh, we said there is an exception to the rule under the Copyrights Act, that's especially for education purposes. Like today, for example, I'm speaking to you, and somebody decides to uh, sell this to some a third person. Then can the Delphic Council not, own the copyright of this for, education purposes? And the answer is absolutely yes, because that is the exception to the rule. That for the purposes of education, etc., you can be the 100% owner of. And that was the first instance where Fox actually, I mean, I've seen a lot of contracts, they gave up their entire copyright in favor of the Indian independent filmmakers worldwide. So this was, very interesting as well. Now, coming to a few interesting cases that we've done over the period of time, we had one particular uh, case where you had a writer actually, uh, you know, uh, sort of given a synopsis to a particular producer. That producer then goes ahead and gets his own writer, and before they know that particular movie is out. So uh, of course, they first went to the Screenwriters Association and tried their luck over there. There also there is clearly a lacuna. The problem is, unlike your Writers Guild of America, etc., they don't have the statutory authority. Unfortunately, they can only sort of uh, compare scripts, etc. These are all part of court hearings, decisions. Sorry. So the matter came to the court. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and finally, I think better sense prevailed. These people not only gave the original writer her due, but also ensured that the person who innocently was given the job of actually writing the script, she was also given the credit. So this is, I think, a very interesting case where the court balanced the views and things like that. Uh, I was talking to you about this Indian independent filmmakers worldwide. They had a case where you're now, that cyber, it's so very interesting. They put out, they actually got their one episode recorded at, a very important entertainment sort of summit. And apparently, within minutes, that somebody on using a hand phone recorded the entire thing, sent it across, and sold it. we went to court and got through the court orders not only against Google but Google India and others, called what is called as a John Doe order. They were finally able to find that and I'm telling you, this is within minutes of somebody recording it. That went, and they found the URL in Queensland in Australia. So, they, so this is how quick these guys are. They are able to transmit it, and before what happens, it is sold, and all the contractual obligations, effort that somebody does, just comes to naught, and they lose a lot of money. Luckily, we were able to convince the court. They passed what is called a John Doe order, which means against an unknown person, and finally that was taken off the air, and we were able to save this poor NGO from serious contractual obligations that they would have otherwise faced. There is so much more to talk about, but I think I'll pause here, and I'll be very, very happy to take questions, and also to talk about several other subjects. I have not touched upon the law pertaining to art, NFTs, and there is such a huge amount. So I've spoken about the civil side. There's the criminal obligations also, that under the Copyrights Act, if you violate, then there are criminal proceedings that can be taken against you, and all this happens sort of simultaneously. I'll pause here. Ishratji.
Sir, this is Sarthi here. I would like to ask some questions. Can I ask?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. See, I'm in India, sir. I'm new to the ad filmmaking industry. So, other than a normal agreement, do I have to make an extra agreement or anything which is necessary for making an ad film in India?
No. Now again, it entirely depends upon what role you are playing in the industry. By role, I mean not about acting, etc., but what exactly is your position? What are you doing? So today it has become very, very specialized. So a lyricist contract, a music director's contract, an actor, a dancer, every single there may be a lot of similarity in there is a lot of generality, but there are also specific clauses that apply only to you depending upon your position and situation in the task. Like what we have been doing, both as a network of lawyers, etc., we've now started approaching law schools and telling them that it's extremely important that the lawyers of tomorrow must know and study these subjects in law school itself. Okay, we have also tried, told them that please have certificate courses, etc., for people within the industry, and so that they become aware of all these, because it's the important thing is being aware. Being over smart is a separate issue. So don't be over smart, but be fully aware of what it is. And please don't rely entirely upon Google University, because it will take you round and round. And you may get completely sort of, including the famous Chat GPT. So, you can, I'll give you a great example. For example, if you type in Contract Act, okay, and if you want to know the simple sections, you have to also type Bare Act. Now, most people won't put those two words with it. So you will get, say 1 million searches. Now, under that, what are you going to look at? What are you doing? What are the case law on the subject? Because please understand, law is ever evolving. We are saying something today, tomorrow, the legislature or the court might say something diametrically opposite, and the law might change. So it's everything is in fluctuation. So you have to be fully aware of and not only what is, because we have now become and rightly so, a global player, because all that you are doing, whether it's OTT, films, etc., everything has a global. The companies are global, and other aspects. So you must be fully aware of these at least the basics. I'm not saying beyond that.
The other question is like, I have a story for a feature film, so I'm talking to the producers and explaining them the story and everything. But do I have to register, or what are the basics that is required as a director? I have a story. So what do I have to do?
No. As I explained earlier, the first thing, please remember, since you are uh, uh, what is called the first owner of the copyright, so you can register. I mean, I presume this is still what happens today. Are you a member of that Screenwriters Association?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Doesn't look like one has to be and one has to register the stories.
You have to not only register, but the thing that is accepted by when ultimately, if it goes to court, what will the court accept? The court will accept a registration under the Copyrights Act. So even if you have your association that is registering it, that has very limited sort of scope, because that is only in case there is an issue between two script writers, and they can then sit down and and compare the scripts. That is what the decision of the High Court says. But if you want foolproof that it is yours, you can get copyright done at several stages. At the initial stage, when you have something, then as you move ahead from your script, Bible, etc., all those phrases you only know better, you can send it for copyright, and then ultimately your producer will sign an agreement with you for its assignment to him. So that is one. That is if it is yours. If you are on work for hire by a producer, okay, then it is different. Then he is paying you. Then you are like his employee, and therefore in some of those cases, the copyright would probably belong to them.
Jamshed sir, and totally agree with you when you say that the law is ever evolving. Every day it is changing, and endorses the fact of a discussion with one of my advocate friends when he told me that law is nothing but the logical interpretation of the facts. Logical interpretation of the facts. It's how a person convinces the other with the logic. Is it right?
Up to a point, yes, but it is also basically law is framed in India in two ways. One is, of course, through the legislature, and the other thing is the judge-made law. Okay, so and also we are these days, and we do a lot of it. I'll give you a great example of that. For example, when we had argued the first, I had argued actually in 2008, a very famous abortion case in India. So we relied upon the law of England, and many years later, that is exactly what our parliament followed. So treaties, international treaties, like for example, let's give you another example on that front. Copyrights. Okay, you have treaties. India is the signatory to the Berne Convention, Rome Convention. So when you register something here, you get automatic protection in other countries as well. How do you get that? Where is the source is through international convention that India has signed as a signatory. So it's automatic. So it's interesting.
May I put certain examples? Am I able to do that? The examples of those cases whose the judgment has been passed and it is already out. I'll quote the example of two historical films, Jodha Akbar and Padmavat. In both the historical films, see, when the filmmakers are making a film, they have two extremes of responsibilities. One responsibility is entertainment, of course, and the second responsibility is bringing the right kind of historical facts in front of the public. Films are educative as well. Films are educative, and the education has to be the right. But when we look at both the cases, they were sued by the Rajput groups, both the films. The ban was made in certain cities. And in both the cases, the judiciary, the honorable court, lifted the bans, thus favoring the judgment in favor of the filmmakers with all due regards. But here they quoted a word, creative expression, as a plea, as a matter of plea, creative expression. Can you just throw some more insight into this word in the legal framework? What is creative expression?
So let me take you. Okay, now again, things are changing very, very rapidly. Okay, earlier, what was it called? It was called the censor board, correct? In the days gone by. Now, what is it called? It is called the Board for Film Certification. So the censorship part is thrown out of the window. It used to censor. Now it cannot. It is only certified. So whether it is an A, UA, U, whatever. So that is what it is. Also, they have also evolved. They had internally an appellate tribunal. Now they have a committee which is looking into it, and things like that. I'm not talking about these two cases in particular, but generally also courts are very, very slow, because they are aware that if you come to the court at the fag end, okay, the last minute, the courts are aware that the producer has put in a lot of money, so that is something that weighs in the court's mind. But also but the creative expression also, as you say, the creativity part of it, that in no way should be compromised in. So, for example, there may be an interpretation of an idea in a particular way, as long as it does not, fall or disturb the other laws. And actually, there are a whole list that the committee has to look at, okay, when it goes for certification. That does it sort of breach any of these things, and that is why they usually they suggest cuts, or they say that these things should be done in a particular way, or they should be removed, or this certain disclaimers should be added, etc., etc. So it's a now, and this is a 24/7 thing. This is not unusual. So you will keep seeing these. I mean, I think we are evolving. In the US, okay, for example, the US is the easiest and the fastest jurisdiction to get your copyright registration done. Okay, it's one of the finest.
Right.
And I believe I think South Africa is also a place, but things are changing. And what I'm really wanting to say is that now, since, please remember, whatever you do, whether you are acting as another as things come to my mind, if you are a 37th extra in a film, for example, okay, why should you not get royalty? That system needs to come in immediately. Royalty is done very, very well in the music industry in India, but as far as this is concerned, we have some very fine actors from abroad, who are over here, who are. I asked one such gentleman, I won't take his name. He's really doing a lot of good work here. I said, how do you survive in a say a place like Mumbai? So he says, based on the royalties that I'm earning here in the US. I mean, we've had actors who have died out of poverty in India. So I think we need to bring all this together. This needs to change. The other thing is, something that also is very important is that every state in India now should recognize this as an industry. It is not enough to say, we are giving industry status, and then you just give some bank loans, etc., etc. That is not enough. You must give full, just as you have several other industries, rubber industry, chemical industry, pharmaceutical industry. Give them that kind of support, because this is something which is one of our biggest, not only exports, but it also has and okay, so far we are only talking about the sort of the film industry. What about all the other ancillary industry that goes with it? Today, you have theater, you have short films, you have your cartoons, you have digital space, photography, all this. And that's why I think it's coming back. That's why Delphic can play such a important role in bringing all these art forms and everybody together in a very nice way.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much for this wonderful session. My question directly is, as far as now people are moving towards AI generating videos. For example, if somebody is having a software, in software there is an option to generate a video through AI on the text basis. So what about the copyrights in this particular, as far as this medium is concerned? And similarly, the another question is about the Google Earth. For example, you are showing in your film or documentary any part of the world through the Google Earth. So how can we have to take consideration a copyright issue? So kindly have this.
Sure. No, thank you. This is very relevant and very apt. I think a month ago, in one particular forum, we spoke very extensively on this subject. Welcome, Rameshji. You see, in fact, I started that session by saying that the only AI that we used to know was when they used to announce the Air India flight and say AI flight number so and so. That was what we knew about AI. Now, today, you're absolutely right. In a nutshell, see, one thing we have learned very well in as lawyers, especially with the Supreme Court, to condense it in 30 seconds. AI again is the application of it is evolving. Okay, as of now, worldwide, it says that the creator or the person who creates the AI is still till today the copyright owner. Okay, so that is something. Again, the interpretation of that can mean so many things. We don't have a lot of case law on that yet in India also, but generally, if you see the US decisions, etc., because all these things are happening, and they're happening very, very quickly. So the Copyrights Act unfortunately does not cover this aspect in completely. There is a need to sort of amend it to bring in these aspects, not only from the copyright perspective, but even from the disputes perspective. Let me tell you, for example, in say your cryptocurrency. Okay, if you have a regular suit, your suit can take, I mean, CPC says finish it within 1 year. We know how long it takes. Cryptocurrency, you can buy and sell within 1 hour your asset 50 times. Okay, so has technology and the law actually moved together? And I think the time has come where the framers of the law need to say that along with technology, the law needs to be brought in at the same time. Don't wait till something happens and then decide now what are we going to do, because it's too late. Today we don't have a system which can take an AI case to a district court somewhere. I mean, if you're fortunate and the judge is good, you're lucky. If it's not, he'll say, what is all this? I'll give you a great example of that. The question, of course, it was under the issue of patents. It said, can a mathematical algorithm be patented in India or not? We were very, very fortunate. We got it. It came up before a judge who studied in Harvard and who understood this. So we got the relief. If it had before somebody else, we would have had spent hours trying to explain what we meant. So I think it's a continuous education system. The judges need to be sensitized. Lawyers need to be upgraded. The industry needs to be and of course even those in government. So I think there is huge need for everyone to work together, and that is how you will get quick and equitable solutions for this. So that I think probably answers your first question. The second question was on about Google Earth. So if you take something from there, it is your responsibility. So are you saying that you are aggrieved by it, or as a filmmaker you want to use it?
I want to use it sometimes.
Sure. Yeah. So there also, what you should do is you please mention. Okay, you have a whole set of credits that you give. Yes, that in that you please mention that giving credit to Google Earth for whatever the short duration that you use something. Okay, now. Fortunately, I have been on advisory boards of international film festivals across the world, so I'm aware of this. What happens is there are usually the registration is on sites like Film Freeway, etc. Correct? So you will have to show, and 99% they will ask for a copyright certificate from your home country. So you should get copyright certificate, because that is important. What SWA does is it registers it with itself. It is an organization. I mean, I have the greatest respect for it. I don't say no. But if you want somebody across the world to accept that, you will have to the only recognize both, again, in case of a dispute, the other is the Copyright Office of India.
Yeah, the other question is about co-production and collaboration with foreign production houses. You touched upon it briefly. I just wanted to know, like, what are the things to look for in that kind of a contract?
So in film co-productions, basically, as a filmmaker, you have options, and there are a lot of these days, a lot of countries are coming to India trying to promote themselves as tourism destinations, etc. Because one this is what we hear from them, that one film over there, sort of doubles or triples the number of people visiting them just because so and so is shot over there, and people would like to go and see it. So that's the benefit to that country. So, but what you need to do is you need to first check and see that in which way these the incentives that are being provided to you, okay, are they, you can, there are so many of them. There are, whether it's the Europeans, whether it's Australia, whether it's now, I mean, several even smaller countries. If you should take these incentives, have a look, see which gives you the best advantage, and then of course you need a local co-production partner over there, the line producer, etc. These are all now very, very well-oiled machines. You can talk to them, take quotations, have a look, and then ultimately once it now there are two. One is of course the official co-production route, and the other one is called what are actually called the co-venture or the joint venture, where you sort of get in touch and have a co-production with another producer over there, which is not a country official co-production. So that is also possible. That again is like a joint venture agreement that you enter into with them, wherein all these different clauses come into effect. So it's a it's a task.
Yeah.
So apart from your regular film agreements, you have to enter into all these different agreements as well. Because, for example, transfer of men and material across, what will happen, fluctuations in currency, payment disputes, etc., etc. So these are all very interesting areas of the law.
Thank you so much. My last question is about using others' music. Like, for instance, if there are any specific guidelines, like for instance, if it's Mozart symphony, can I use it? Can I make my music director to use it? What are the guidelines? I mean, is there any?
So okay, now there are what is the law on the subject? The law on the subject is that today there are copyright societies worldwide which own the copyright of music. So if you are using somebody else's copyright, then that copyright society can ask you to take a license from it. All right. There are also so that's the basic general law. But also what happens is, suppose you use a very small amount of a few bars, then that perhaps could be excluded. So again, there's a lot of case law on this, by the way, what you can use and cannot use. So but generally, I mean, and that is why, for example, places like Instagram, people are putting up their photos and using sort of music. People are using, there are ways of sort of looking at it. One person says it's good, they're playing my music will get popular, they will purchase my music, and that is fine. Others are saying no, nothing doing. If you do it, the platform takes you off immediately and sends you a warning. So now AI can actually monitor all this much better than what it was in previous years. So
I'll just interrupt because in like literature you have 100 years old stories, you can use it. So for music, is there some date or age of the music?
Well, generally the Copyrights Act, it says 60 years after the death of the author, really it goes into public domain.
So for music?
Yes. It is for most of it. You can take a look at the act. Yes.
60 years.
60 years
after the death of the person who created it.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. It was really illuminating.